Let me measure out 6 feet here. Oh, I'm Crystal Hudson. I'm a candidate for City Council in the 35th District, representing the neighborhoods of Crown Heights, Prospect Heights, Fort Greene, Clinton Hill, and bed-stuy. I'm here today with Simone Toomer. Simone is a doula, a lactation counselor, and a childbirth educator. You ready?
Yes.
Let's go. What is it like being a Black doula here in New York City, where we know that Black women die at far greater rates? I think 12 times Black women are more likely to die during childbirth than any
other race.
Yeah.
So as a birth doula, you know, my colleagues, myself, we're really coming forth for birth justice and for advocacy amongst birth and educating, you know, birthing pregnant women, and really just being there to support, because a lot of times birthing people are coming with health disparities, high blood pressure, diabetes, and that's also playing a part into their postpartum recovery and what happens when they're returning back to the hospital after they have a baby.
Right. And we already know through COVID that Black and brown folks have health disparities that are exacerbated a lot of times by these, you know, systemic issues.
Yes. Black women are ignored, right? I don't know if you've heard recently about Shayaja Washington and Amber Rose Isaac dying in birth, and it's despite voicing their concerns, right? It's despite saying, hey, something's going on with me. I know with Shayaja Washington, the concern was the anesthesiologist, that, you know, it was a bad epidural, not being listened to, but he had complaints prior to her death, right? So how do you have a care provider that's still working who has multiple complaints before and no one's reprimanding that?
What can we do to actually change that? I personally don't really believe that implicit bias training is enough. How do we get past the systemic racism that's causing Black women to die?
Yeah, I think that's a great question that we're not going to solve, unfortunately, just like 1, 2, 3, right? What if all Black women had providers that actually heard them and listened to them? Even more importantly, Black women, we now know, like when I'm contacted to be someone's doula, they're usually a Black woman saying, I want a Black doula, right? So what if we actually looked for a Black OB or a Black midwife and really screened our healthcare professionals, right?
Right. There were 40 city council candidates who recently signed on to a pledge that was led by a candidate in Manhattan named Trisha Shimamura, who had her own sort of very scary birthing experience. We've signed this pledge to ensure that the next class of the City Council is really addressing the issue of not just maternal mortality, but specifically the way that it disproportionately impacts Black and brown women and mothers.
Yes, I read that article, and I just mentioned, you know, high blood pressure, but thankfully even though she was ignored the first time, it's in the article she explains by a resident, they got a doctor and expressed their concern, and that's probably what saved her life.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So that's a big deal.
You know, I'm running for city council, and so thinking about what the city council might be able to do, the biggest thing for me is funding. If the city council was able to reallocate funds to services like midwifery care, to doula services, what would that look like?
It would look like more communities having access to affordable doula care, right? And then when we look at doula care, we're also looking at childbirth education, lactation support. You know, a lot of pregnant people want to hire doulas, but the cost is definitely a concern, right? When you're considering all the other expenses of having a new baby. Or in general, some people just don't know, should I take a breastfeeding support class? Should I take a newborn care class? And I think that would be great also under that umbrella.
Well, this has been awesome. I really appreciate it. It's been good to chop it up with you.
Yeah, awesome.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Simone.
Crystal.
All right.